Susan Scarence Jones is an artist from Long Valley, New Jersey. She takes inspiration from musical instruments, found objects, and nature. To create these pieces, she uses materials including scraps of metal, collage, acrylic paints, and inks. She never sticks to one aesthetic and always finds new inspiration from the world around her to create her works. Susan has taught art workshops for children and adults, including co-founding a group called Art Matters at her local library to inspire local artists of all levels. Her work has been shown and sold in multitudes of group and solo shows throughout the country. Most recently, Susan has begun creating children's stories titled Skippy the Chipmunk, inspired by a chipmunk that continuously visits her garden. She lives to create art and inspire people to create art themselves. Hello and welcome back to Garden State of the Arts. Our guest today is Susan Scarence Jones. Susan, thank you so very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us, when did your passion and desire to be an artist first begin?
Well, I think from a very young age I knew I just loved art. I was very shy and very actually oversensitive, I think, as a child. And I found that whenever I started to draw or paint, I really, I just found myself there. And it was relaxing and it was fun. And it was a way for me to express myself. So from then on, from a really early age, I found that art was a thing I would love to do.
That's beautiful. From this early age, did you partake in any art classes or?
No, not at first. I really spent a lot of time outdoors as a child, and I think it really helped me to be actually use my imagination. I would make things out of, I'd go into the woods and build things, and I don't know, I spent a lot of time on my own. So no, I actually didn't take too many lessons until later on in life. But I think that was good because then I pretty much found my own style of painting or drawing. And not until I was older did I take lessons.
So being a family woman, how would you say your kids have influenced your work with art or your work with these children workshops?
Well, I found, first of all, when the kids were really young, I found that they observed everything. They would hold a little caterpillar and look at it and all those little things in nature. And so I started to see through their eyes again as I got older. It was nice to kind of relive all of that, what you do when you're a child yourself. So that was really good as to be an artist, to look at things again. And also I found that the kids would come home and say, Mom, there's a lot of stuff for the sports kids, but not a lot for the arty kids, as we used to call them, the artsy kids. So I did realize that after a while, that, hey, maybe this is something I should do about, something to do. This is something I should try to help change, make a change. So I thought, why not? I had a lot of the parents asking me if I would start teaching their children art lessons, and that's pretty much how I got started as an instructor.
That's so wonderful.
So,
I think, like you've mentioned, artists definitely have a unique perspective when it comes to seeing these everyday objects, seeing the beauty behind it, and how, like you've mentioned with the kids, seeing it could turn into something beautiful and be art itself.
right.
So for you to give back to the community and to these children, that's very wonderful of you. So incredible.
Well, it's been good for me. I really enjoy it.
So are there any specific artists or a style of art that you take inspiration from?
I love all types of art. I found, though, that I really loved impressionistic art. Monet, I love the colors, the soft colors. And I also love the fact that they use very thick paint and not a lot of details, which I found as I got older. I don't like to paint with a lot of details. So I started trying to do more impressionistic art, and even abstract art I love. And again, I do love making things out of found objects, which is a lot of fun. So
Yes.
that was one of the other things I'd like to do.
So, being a very versatile artist, what would you say inspires you to change mediums when creating art?
I do get bored if I do the same thing over and over again. So it's kind of nice to switch it out a little bit. And I found too, watercolor is very relaxing. And so if I need to calm down, I would sit down and start working on a watercolor. If I have a lot of energy, sometimes I'd like to start an abstract. Because you can just kind of go crazy. Turn on the music and slap some paint on the canvas, which again is really a great way to be able to work with all the different mediums, just the way you feel. You know, my mood really depends on my mood.
Well, that's a great way to look at everything. Yeah. So, especially with all the pieces that we've seen before, what would you say, or how do you say you take influence from the world around you to create your pieces?
Most of my artwork reflects, I guess, from my childhood, the outdoors, nature. I love, you know, I have a lot of respect for nature. I get really upset when I see people building in places they shouldn't. It just bothers me so much because we seem to be losing more and more of our, you know, the landscape and the woods and the fields. And so I try to put that into my art. Trees and landscapes, and just because I appreciate it.
That's so great for you to advocate through your art, especially too. So speaking of your pieces that you've worked on, our producers actually have a bit of footage of all of your pieces that you've worked on. If you'd like to speak on them, give us the creative process behind them.
Okay, sure. This is an example of a mixed media piece I did after we took a trip to the Grand Canyon and took a trip around the Southwest. There were so many different earth tones and sunsets I saw. I couldn't wait to get home and start this collage. And it has all types of paint and metal and copper, and I think I even stuck some mosaics on that. And that's on a 7-foot board. This is the totally different colors that I like to use. This is sort of a fantasy painting. I like the, you know, the bright colors, and it's actually a bit of an impressionistic type painting. So that was another style I like to work in. And you can see the contrast. There's quite a bit of contrast in the two. This is Skippy. Skippy, the star of my the 3 little books I wrote. He has been quite an adventure. He kind of popped out in the garden one day after I was trying to figure out how to work my camera, and we've been friends for quite a while now, and it is kind of amazing. I never really had noticed chipmunks before, and next thing you know, I've got a best friend.
Well, those pieces are absolutely incredible. And Skippy, what an appearance, so we get to meet him. Speak of the devil, what would you say, what made you first start photographing Skippy?
It was really by accident. I had this new Nikon camera, and I had no idea how to use it, and I do not like instructional, you know, instruction books or manuals. So I went out into the garden and I started taking pictures of the flowers, and up popped this little chipmunk. And I went out the next day and he was there again. And so after like a few days of giving him birdseed and peanuts, I found that I practically could train him. So next thing I know, I put out little toys for him, and he would climb in the toys, and I would just keep taking pictures.
What a unique way to make a friend.
Yes, it was. It was.
What led you to eventually put these pictures into children's books?
Well, when I downloaded the photographs, I found that it pretty much, the stories wrote themselves, which was kind of amazing. And then I said, gee, all I have to do now is put a few sentences. I wanted it to be for early readers, maybe ages 3 to 7. And I said, this probably could do. And So that's what happened. And I did the first book, and then the second one, and the third one is Skippy Chipmunk, the artist, where he shares his talents with others in the garden. And I thought that was kind of a funny little thing, because that's how I feel. I feel like,
Right.
you know, I have this gift to be able to do art. I like to share it with other people. So that's all in the third series, third book of the series.
Well, it's beautiful. What an ironic way to put your artwork through a chipmunk, who's become an incredible inspiration to others. So, Susan, thank you so very much for coming on and sharing the creative process behind your pieces and the beauty that you find in the places and world around you. I think we're all very excited to be a future generation inspired by everything that you've created, especially Skippy the Chipmunk. That was a great surprise. So thank you so very much for coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. And we will see you next week on Garden State of the Arts.